Panama Canal is also suffering from major disruption as many fewer ships are now getting through. The culprit this time, though, is climate change.
One of the most important waterways in the world, the Panama Canal, could soon lose its power over global trade. For over 100 years, the Panama Canal has helped ships cut through the ocean, saving time and money. But now, new technologies, routes, and even climate change are threatening its very existence. In today's video, we'll dive into what might be the end of the Panama Canal and what could replace it. Let's get into it. The Panama Canal is something you've likely read about in history class, but it's even more important than most people realize. Built between 1904 and 1914, the canal connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans through a narrow strip of land in Panama. This makes it possible for ships to avoid the long, dangerous trip around the southern tip of South America, saving tons of time and money. Before the canal existed, ships had to take a much longer route around Cape Horn at the bottom of South America, which could take weeks longer. The Panama Canal cuts this journey by half, allowing ships to move between the two oceans in just 8 to 10 hours. That's a huge deal for global trade. In fact, around 14,000 ships pass through the canal each year, carrying about 5% of the world's goods. This makes it one of the most important trade routes in the world. Not only is the canal a shortcut for ships, but it's also a massive source of income for Panama. Each ship that passes through has to pay a toll, and these fees can be anywhere from $100,000 to over $500,000, depending on the ship's size and cargo. All of this money adds up, and Panama earns billions of dollars every year just from the canal. But despite all this, some new developments are emerging that might kill the Panama Canal's dominance in the world of global shipping. So let's explore these threats. While the Panama Canal has been the go-to route for international trade for over a century, new shipping routes are starting to emerge, and they could pose a serious threat to the canal's dominance. One of the biggest factors is climate change. As the Arctic ice melts due to global warming, a new route known as the Northern Sea Route, or NSR, is becoming more accessible. The Northern Sea Route runs along the Russian coast through the Arctic Ocean, and it could become a major competitor to the Panama Canal. This route is much shorter for ships traveling between Europe and Asia. In fact, it cuts about 20 days off the typical trip between these two continents. That's a huge advantage when you're talking about global trade, where time is money. Right now, the NSR is only usable for part of the year because of the ice, but as global temperatures rise, this could change. Some experts believe that in the next few decades, this route could be navigable year-round, allowing for a huge increase in the number of ships using it. Another major factor that could kill the Panama Canal is the rapid expansion of international rail networks. Now, you might not think trains are as important as ships when it comes to global trade, but they're actually becoming a major player, especially in certain regions of the world. One of the most important rail projects is China's Belt and Road Initiative, also known as the BRI. The Belt and Road Initiative is a massive infrastructure project that aims to connect Asia, Europe, and Africa through a network of railways, highways, and ports. The idea is to create a new Silk Road that allows goods to move more quickly and cheaply between these regions. Trains have a big advantage over ships when it comes to speed. While a cargo ship might take weeks to move goods between Asia and Europe through the Panama Canal, a train can do it in just a few days. Not only is rail faster, but it's also more reliable and environmentally friendly. Trains are less affected by bad weather and other delays that can slow down shipping routes. Plus, they produce fewer carbon emissions than ships, which is becoming a big deal as companies look for ways to reduce their environmental impact. Another potential threat to the Panama Canal is Nicaragua's Grand Canal. You might not have heard of this project, but it's been talked about for years as a possible alternative to the Panama Canal. The idea is to build a new canal through Nicaragua, which would connect the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, just like the Panama Canal does. The Grand Canal would be much larger and deeper than the Panama Canal, allowing for bigger ships to pass through. This is important because modern cargo ships are getting bigger and bigger. The Panama Canal was expanded a few years ago to accommodate these larger ships, but it's still not big enough for some of the biggest vessels out there. If the Grand Canal were built, it could attract a lot of the shipping traffic that currently goes through the Panama Canal, especially the larger ships that can't fit through Panama's locks. The project has faced a lot of challenges and delays, including environmental concerns and funding issues, but if it ever gets built, it could be a huge game changer for global trade. Another trend that could kill the Panama Canal is the rise of megaports around the world. These massive ports are being built to handle the increasing size and volume of global shipping, and they're located in strategic areas that can bypass the need for traditional canals. For example, places like China, Singapore, and Dubai have invested heavily in building megaports that can handle the world's largest ships. These ports are designed to be super efficient, with advanced technology that allows them to load and unload cargo faster than ever before. This means that ships can spend less time in port and more time on the move, saving both time and money. The growth of megaports also means that shipping companies don't necessarily need to use the Panama Canal to get their goods from one place to another. They can use these megaports as hubs, transferring cargo from one ship to another and using alternative shipping routes that bypass the canal entirely. Technology is advancing at a crazy pace, and the shipping industry is no exception. New technological advancements are making it easier and faster to move goods around the world, and these changes could seriously impact the Panama Canal's future. One of the biggest trends in shipping is the development of autonomous ships. These are ships that can sail themselves with little or no human intervention. Autonomous ships could reduce the cost of shipping by eliminating the need for large crews and by improving fuel efficiency. Another major technological advancement is the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning in logistics. Shipping companies are using AI to optimize their routes, avoiding congested areas and bad weather to get their goods to their destinations faster. With smarter, more efficient routes, some companies might find that they no longer need to use the Panama Canal because they can find quicker or cheaper alternatives. And the canal relies on fresh water from the surrounding lakes to operate, but in recent years, Panama has experienced severe droughts. These droughts have caused the water levels in the lake to drop, which means there isn't enough water to keep the canal running at full capacity. When water levels get too low, the canal has to limit the number of ships that can pass through or even close certain parts of the canal temporarily. This is a huge problem for global trade, as even a shore closure can cause delays and cost companies millions of dollars. But it's also a big issue for Panama itself because the country relies on the income generated by the canal to support its economy. On top of the environmental challenges, the canal is also facing increasing maintenance costs. The Panama Canal is more than 100 years old, and while it has been upgraded and expanded over the years, it still requires constant maintenance to keep it functioning properly. This includes repairing the locks, dredging the canal to keep it deep enough for ships, and making sure the surrounding infrastructure is in good shape. The global economy is always changing, and these shifts have a big impact on the Panama Canal. Right now, the canal is super important for trade between Asia, Europe, and the Americas. But as economies grow and develop in other parts of the world, the trade patterns that the Panama Canal relies on could start to change. For example, Africa and Southeast Asia are two regions that are experiencing rapid economic growth. As these regions become more important players in the global economy, we might start to see more trade happening within these regions. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching.